What's good as a hobby but terrible as a profession?
Baking. I love to make bread and cakes, but on my time. I couldn't imagine having to wake up at 3 a.m. every day to start making bread.
Well, would you look at that? Turns out the answer is everything.
Hobbyist collecting. I've known two people who grew up loving comic books, so they opened their own comic book stores as adults. It's not just that 90+% of comic shops tend to go under for lack of business, although that's certainly true. The other reality is that the customers are, if possible, even more demanding, opinionated, and rude than customers in other retail stores.
Cooking maybe? I love to cook. But after doing it for work, cooking stuff I don't even like making, for 12 hours a day, I get home and make myself microwaved ramen. I get so burnt out on cooking.
Crochet and knitting. I'm constantly being told, you should have a business doing that. But nobody will be willing to pay for my time. They'd only be willing to pay for materials if I'm lucky. For example, a double bed-sized blanket in a relatively simple stitch would take me 170 to 200 hours, basic yarn approximately 40 pounds to 60 pounds. I'd be lucky if the customer would pay 50 pounds to 80 pounds. It's the same for a lot of handcrafts. I was literally jaw on the floor the other day when I saw a designer crochet halter top being sold for 600 pounds. I'd be super lucky if I got 15 pounds to 20 pounds. Wow. Woke up to all this. Thank you for your upvotes. And thank you, kind strangers, for my first awards. Throwing kisses, throwing kisses, throwing kisses.
Video games seems like an absolutely horrible industry to work in with crunch time and constant demands up the throat.
Building computers. Used to be a great hobby for me back in the day, but once you work in a place that troubleshoot and maintain them, you get tired of the constant monotony for speccing out the layout and hardware, software install and updating, making sure connections are seated properly, etc. took all the fun and wonder away.
Bowling. Unless you're good enough to be in the top 20 in the world. The top earner in all of 2020 made $293,000 from the PBA Tour. The 10th highest earner made $71,000. Only 16 made more than $50,000. From there it just keep dropping to where the number 50 earner only made about $10,000. You also have to pay for each tournament you enter. If 300 bowlers show up for a tournament, you need to finish roughly in the top 100 to even make your money back. It's just too hard to go all in on. Most pro bowlers either run pro shops or give lessons when they can.
I'm a composer and I don't really see my music doing money, and there are two reasons for that. One, the music industry is very large and I see that a large number of artists and groups are competing for a small place on the top. Everything seems unpredictable, too many variables, too many possibilities, and I don't feel like risking my chances at it. Two, my style simply isn't mainstream. For now, I'll just keep learning and doing it as a hobby, and maybe I'll please some people one day.
Dancing. Most dancers get paid beat they break their bodies throughout their lives, and have to retire very young in most cases.
I think most hobbies are terrible as professions. I'm a home brewer, and jobs in breweries seem pretty stressful with long days to meet market demands, without a great pay.
Chef. It's fun to cook for friends, but the general public sucks.
This thread makes me think that everything sucks when it becomes a job.
Anything directly relating to entertainment. That includes making music, movies, video games, sports, whatever. If it's anything that tons of people have a passion for because it's fun, that's going to translate into people wanting to make a living out of it, and thus the market will be very crowded and competitive.
Surgery. I think I'll just keep it as a hobby. It loses all the fun when it's licensed.
Sex, it's fun, but doing it for money not so much.
Writing. For some people it works out, but most things are never popular and not usually anything enough to support yourself.
Home improvement. As a hobby you can take your time, do research, spread the cost, and do it right. As a profession, it's feast or famine. You are competing with every dickhead with a pickup and bids can be all over the place. You never know what you are going to bite into when you start a demo. Does this bathroom have 1 layer of wallboard or 4? Is there rot under this dishwasher? You want to give the best product to the customer, but the good enough meter is all over the place.
Photography. Sort of once it becomes your job, it really quickly loses a lot of its charm and the customers can be very, very annoying at times. Although I do admit sometimes it is freaking fantastic as well. It does depend on the subject though, I suppose.
Science. No matter the field, science is awesome. But holy hell is academia flawed, in every country. It basically burns through researchers, people are underpaid and overworked. They are exploited as much as possible. If they got paid any less or made to work any more, the system would collapse.
Making music. I know famous musicians that barely make enough money to get by.
Digital drawing. I enjoy it as stress relief, and at least right now while I'm still kinda learning my style and discovering different techniques/methods, I don't think I do well under deadlines or stressing about client preferences/demands. Not to mention all the art stealing that happens online. I just like doodling fan art and OCs for my own enjoyment and posting them if I feel good about it. Ironically, I am sort of working on a comic as a passion project, but I don't really want to hit it big or make it a career. I just want to tell my story, you know?
Being a mechanic. The money you save being able to fix your own beep is serious. Thousands. However, even as a hobbyist, amount of people that want you to fix their car, usually for as close to free as they can get, is kinda awful. Especially when people you otherwise like, don't want to listen to you about the importance of maintenance, or learning what the lights on their dash mean. When you work professionally, in a shop, you see the dark depth of the idiocy of the common person, who doesn't bother to learn a beep of anything about owning, forget maintaining the 1-ton death box they careen themselves about in high speeds. The kinds of things you see come in, that could kill themselves or someone else, is definitely damaging to your faith in humanity.
Ooh, this is relevant after this past weekend. Coaching, or generally working within, youth sports. I have a million horror stories I could tell. Most centering around parents, adults. Only train one night a week now, and have limited my services to purely training teams, versus some of the admin or multi-night roles I've held in years past. Nightmare fuel. Had to reduce to a pure training capacity because the more I interacted with adults around sports, especially already having a full-time job, the more I'd just be bummed out whole weekends at a time.
Fencing. It's quite fun to do as a hobby, but it isn't easy to make much money, even at the highest levels.
Reef keeping. Chemistry application that goes well beyond a typical hobby. You are essentially replicating an ocean in a few gallons of water in your living room. As a profession, you are dealing with creatures that shouldn't be removed from their ecosystems, but you need to sell them to what will be more than likely their quick doom. If the creatures somehow beat all odds from collection to transport to adaptation and adjustment to being housed within a few gallons of water, they need to survive long enough to make the store money. These creatures then need to contend with how lazy an average reef keeper might become a few months into the hobby. It's a terrible business but impressive hobby.
Poker, for 99% of us, can cost a lot of money if you are not the best, but still a great game.
Collecting anything. You wouldn't make any money because you keep what you buy.
Anything to do with horses.
Fitness. My buddy is a trainer and he's ripped. His clients are mostly obese people in their 40s and 50s with money who like the idea of having a trainer but lack the discipline to get fit. They think some trainer is going to fix their 30 years of poor habits and beat diet in one program with no effort. It doesn't work that way. They fire him because they don't see results.
Being a YouTuber. You must output a video on schedule, edit and come up with good content. Sure, it's fun when you do it at your own pace, but once you have a schedule, it feels more like a chore.
Art. I've been an artist my whole life, any medium. As for me personally, I think that having a job involving drawing or art would absolutely kill my love for it, because my favorite thing about art is that I can do whatever I want.
Staring into the blank abyss for hours on end, thinking about why Ariel didn't just write down what she wanted to say when she lost her voice.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.